water?
No, it's good actually. It's sparkling. I didn't realize it was sparkling. And with that being said, what's happening, y'all? It's Dean Thomas, Ryan Quinn right here on another episode of Fight Court. I'm reporting live from Rome, Italy. As you can see in the back, I'm kicking it. I'm chilling. I ain't doing shit out here in Rome, but I'm visiting the sites, man. I want to go to the Coliseum, Ryan, because I want to go to the Coliseum.
Yeah.
And I want to walk the same walk that the soldiers walk and the warriors walk. I want to see where they saw the fights from. And then if I get spicy, I'm going to swing on a motherfucker right there.
All right. So a couple things. First, we have rebranded. Don't forget, we are now Dean Thomas's Fight Court. So that's how you can find us. Find us a little bit easier, people. Things are good. Props to Dean. It's 2:00 in the morning out there. Thank you very much for, like you said, the show must go on. Appreciate your dedication, partner. And the third thing, when you take that walk, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to take it with your phone as you're walking through the tunnel and just like what's going on. You know, like a gladiator walking out.
100%, man. In fact, yeah, I wish I had those glasses, man. The AI glasses. You just put them on your head and it records everything. Yeah. Now would have been a good time to have those. All right, so I'm coming straight. Well, actually, I was in Germany. I took a pit stop in Germany, coming all the way from Montreal, UFC 315. We're going to get into that. But before we get in that, I want to talk about something that you just told me about. You sent me a link of another person complaining about Anthony Smith getting his due diligence to his retirement, and then another fighter not getting their flowers for their career. What a fuck, where are these idiots popping out from?
I won't even cut you off. I'll let you go. Sorry. And I just did that.
No. To me, it's just, I'm like, these dudes are doing these impromptu retirements, and fans are expecting the UFC to just have a video package already prepared for them.
It's like, this is why we can't have nice things, like it's these, like Jose already retired once and he came out, he got his due. He got the biggest send off in the history of the UFC.
The biggest in the history. He was in the Hall of Fame crying. He was in the Hall of Fame crying. Why do we have? And no one knew he was going to retire.
Yeah.
No one knew this. No one knew he was retiring.
No. He said that he had some life after his last win. I got some life left. I got a year or whatever. And then, and then it kind of, the wheels kind of slowly came off. Although it was a great fight. It was a good fight. He was in it. You could argue he won it. But he it's whatever. He's gone. He looked like he didn't want that send off anyway. He looked like he couldn't wait to get out of that cage.
Couldn't wait to get out of the cage. Couldn't wait to get out of the cage. Couldn't wait to go do something else.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's just sickening that because somebody gets something. Anthony Smith got some love for a tremendous career. I mean, a career that spanned 15 years, right? So he had this amazing career. And because he gets recognition for it, we always have to go, well, what about this person? And what about that person? No, why don't you just appreciate when somebody gets anything?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you want to create your own highlight reel of somebody's career and post it, do that. Do it.
Yep.
If you want to appreciate somebody's career, man, grab your phone, screenshot their fights, create your own highlight video, and give them all the love you want.
Takes 10 minutes.
It takes, but don't expect the UFC to go ahead and do it for everybody, especially when they don't even know when certain fighters are retiring.
Yeah, what are you supposed to do? Like, what are they supposed to ask you in the pre-fight? Go to all the fighters. Hey, you're not retiring by chance tomorrow.
Yeah.
You lose.
Any chance you retiring so we can put together a package for you and your career?
It's really ridiculous. It's and like you said, 15 years in the UFC, was 60 plus. How many fights do you have? And here we go defending Anthony Smith. That's not the point. The point is, it's if the UFC has the ability to do something nice, they'll do it. But even the fact that they're arguing, they're like, oh, Jose Alva got no send. He got the biggest send off ever. He just didn't have it the second time. I don't see what the argument is. Did you hear that crowd? I didn't exactly. Well, you were there. I didn't exactly hear the crowd emotional like when during Robbie's last fight or Anthony's last fight for that matter. Like, what was the fan reaction when Jose said, I'm done on Saturday?
I mean, they stood up. They stood up and gave him some love. I mean, it wasn't completely like silent. You know when it was silent when he walked out.
Yeah.
It was silent when he walked out because I don't think because he was fighting Ayman Zahabi and Ayman, the local guy. So when he walked out, they didn't boo him, but they also didn't give him love. Right. And then when he retired, they stood up and gave him a little appreciation. But I think we all knew that he did this before.
Yeah. And
why we gotta give him twice?
When he retired, it was not after a fight. And I remember they put a video together for him. I specifically remember Dana White handing him the featherweight title when the UFC acquired WEC in that video. And then a year later, they put him in the Hall of Fame. So this guy, it's house money, man. Like you got your chance, you got your send off, and he don't seem to care. I don't know why. You know what it is though? People love to bitch and moan. Is what it comes down to. Is they need something to bitch about. They need something to put that's clickbait friendly, and they can't just enjoy the show. And a lot of them don't even. It's funny. I realize. I did that blog, which we're going to discuss a little bit. Actually, there's a lot to discuss tonight. There's about an hour ago, there was some major announcements, but I did a blog about fighters that should be in the UFC and everything like that. And it just took me back just like how long we've been around this sport. And a lot of these people that are the personalities or whatever on social media, I just don't think that not that like I'm trying to win that pissing contest, but they just don't appreciate MMA as the sport, like the lineage and everything. And when situations like this happens, it just shows that they just care about bitching and moaning and being noticed and using MMA as a jump off point. That's how I feel.
100%. Just trying to get noticed, trying to be important. Let me feel important by having this person's back. Let me feel important. So yeah, they haven't been around long enough to understand how the game works or to be able to ride the wave with the game and go, okay, it's changing, and I got to ride the wave with it because it's changing. They just want to complain, bitch, and moan, and this, that, and the third. Oh, this guy deserves this. This fighter deserves that. Man, at the end of the day, man, nobody deserves nothing. And what you get is what you get. And if you can get what you get, appreciate that shit. At the end of the day, that's all it is.
He deserves what he got paid, and it wasn't cheap. So
yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So UFC 315, we'll get into a little bit into that. And also, I know you want to get into some other stuff in terms of who belongs in the Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame fights, and all this good stuff. Well, let's just break down this card just a tad bit.
Yeah, let's do
that. We'll start at the top. Belal Muhammad, Jack Della. What do you think?
I thought it was a great fight. That world we said last week, I could see a world where Jack pulls this off, and that world came to fruition. And I think it was how we both saw it happening. But one thing I was really impressed about, which I'm going to tell you right now, it shows me that he could beat Islam. I'm going to say it right here, dude. The counter punching on that boy when Belal was shooting in was on point. It wasn't that it was necessarily, well, obviously he did damage, but it wasn't that necessarily so powerful and the knockdowns, but just able to stuff the shots with the counter right hands, following up with left hooks, hook to the body. That was beautiful. And I think he could do that to Islam. Like,
he's sharp, man.
A lot of people were saying, "Oh, look what happened to Belal. He tried to stand with him, try to make it exciting." I don't think that was the case. I just think he couldn't gauge takedowns.
That might have been a reality. I thought more so than not being able to gauge takedowns. I thought he just got started too slow.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I can see that too.
I think he took like the first 2 rounds, and it almost looked in an arrogant fashion, like he's walking them down, not doing anything, taking punishment on the way in. And it wasn't like he was trying like straight boxing him. He was just like walking him down, getting. And I think he paid the price for it. I thought his initiations were too slow. I thought he never got into a rhythm, and to be able to ride on into that rhythm, into the fight with. And I thought that killed him because then he had to try to play catch up and playing catch up against a sharpshooter like Jack. We knew Jack was going to carry his power the whole fight because he's so efficient and economical. And he was sharp, man. His head movement after he threw combinations and just, I was like, damn, he's going to be tough to beat, man.
Dean, I don't think he threw the same punch from the same angle, from the same socket once. I think he mixed it up all night. He definitely didn't throw the same combination over and over. It's just, he was sharp. The volume was there.
Yeah, he was really good. And then too, and Belal, by the time Belal got going, man, he looked good. I mean, he did not necessarily like great, but he fought really tough.
Yeah.
And I think that's important that we do recognize that because we gave him this title of being boring, and that's not the case. Belal's not a boring fighter. It's just he's fighting guys that make it too easy for him.
Yeah. I never found him boring. The Sean Brady fight, he looked really good. The Leon fight, he looked really good. His shots were really quick. People want to see stand-up, I guess. And this goes back to what we were saying about appreciating mixed martial arts. Go watch kickboxing if you want to see that shit. I don't think he's a boring fighter. I don't know. I don't really listen to a lot of his interviews, but his reputation in the media is he's cocky, or he talks like, he said something about Canelo hands once. Whatever. I mean, maybe he said that fucking around. I guess you're gonna catch some shit about that, but I don't know. I mean, him and I have a lot of mutual friends, so I'm guessing he's a cool dude.
No, he's a real cool dude, cool, down to earth, humble guy. He as a champion, he never changed in terms of the way he approached fans and approached his lifestyle. He was always the same. And I do believe he worked really hard to defend the title. I just think that by the time the fight night came, something was in his brain saying he had that evil Kermit the Frog on his shoulder with the hood up going, fight stupid. Start slow, fight stupid. But whatever it was, man, I just think he just got a bad start, and that affected the rest of the fight. But Jack's gonna be a good champion. I think Jack's a great champion. It couldn't have happened to a more deserving guy, perhaps in the division, one who was willing to step up and fight anybody at any given time. So I'm really excited to where the welterweight division is right now with these guys that want to fight, between Jack and Ian and Brady and Buckley. Like, all these guys are young and they're like, yo, Shavkat, they're like, yo, I want to fight the next guy to prove that I'm better.
Yeah.
They're not going, well, how much money you got?
Yeah. It's been a long time since the welterweight division was exciting. And
so that's a lot of fun, and I think that's going to be really good. Now, the co-main event, Valentina Shevchenko and Manon Fiorot, to me, I'm just going to say it, man, I thought it was terrible.
I found myself like doing errands around the house a little bit, like in the third and fourth round. Like, I went to cook something real quick, and I was like, I gotta watch this fight and see if anything happens. But I put it on my phone. Yeah, granted, we saw what we saw. I thought that Fiorot was gonna throw, or at least try to throw, a little bit more damaging head kicks. Didn't happen. Valentina didn't wrestle as much as I thought, but the fight was what it was. I thought Valentina won. I thought it was rather forgettable, like you.
Yeah, well, I think that a couple of things. I think for Valentina's part, I think she's just older, and she don't have the same level of hunger and aggression. And I think she mustered it for this fight. Like, she mustered whatever she had left for this fight. And she was fighting a very physically imposing fighter who made it difficult for her at times, just grabbing her. And I thought that Manon Fiorot, with her lack of experience in these big moments, didn't fully capitalize on what she could have did. Think about how she fought the fight. She fought it, like, when she came up, like, she was throwing side kicks and she was moving a lot. And she was like a real bully, like, with a real disrespect towards her opponents. But she fought Valentina like, all right, I'm going to stand in front of you. We're going to stare at each other, and then I'm going to try to take you down if I don't run into a right hand. And to me, that was just a bit too cautious and just a bit too cautious and a bit too safe to be fighting. Like when Jack fought Belal, he came out and was like, whoop,
Yep.
whoop, 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 whoop. Valentina came out, she was like staring and then ran in the right hand, then started trying to get takedowns. And I just thought that Valentina's case was psychological. Like she's just had enough. I think she's just been there so many times that she couldn't muster up the energy to also have a high level of activity and excite us. And then Manon, I think just her inexperience in those spots caused her to fight a bad fight.
It's interesting that you said about Valentina because now they're talking about her fighting Wei Li. Another champ fight is being discussed. Well, actually, I guess the ones via the announcements today aren't champ fights, but that's interesting because if you're going to come out flat against Wei Li, that's that could be dangerous regardless of the size, you know.
Well, yeah, Wei Li is super fast, and I don't think she's going to be that undersized. Just because Valentina's not that big.
Yeah, true.
So I don't think she's going to be that undersized, and she's younger. And hungrier. And I don't want to say I don't know how old she is, but I know she's been in those spots before. Like she's been in a lot of big spots. She's been in big fights. So I think that she goes out there and really tries to put it on Valentina. I think she beats Valentina.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think so too. It might be a nice passing of the torch too. I hope Valentina's not like, let me come back for more, you know. But maybe we're projected a little too much. But
yeah. So now on to the Jose Aldo Amin Zahabi fight. Did you think Jose won?
I did.
Based on the judging criteria, he did win.
Yeah, I thought he did. And then, but then, I see this a lot. Whenever I think that, it wasn't like I was blowing a gasket because he didn't get the decision, but I was like, I thought he won. I thought he controlled the dance. I thought he landed. I thought he was more effective. I thought Zahabi didn't. His body language, so to speak, like he didn't really alter enough. He was heavy on his front foot. I thought he won.
Yeah, I think that and I can't remember the exact round counts, but I felt like he might have even won the third round. Like if he didn't win the first two, I can't remember how that went, but he did so much damage in the first half of that third round.
Yeah,
that I thought sealed it. And the damage that Amin inflicted on him was really kind of Jose. He just fell down. It wasn't like he chewed the clock. Like Jose fell down and like he pulled guard and was holding on. And Amin he cut him, yes. But he didn't, other than the cut, he didn't really do much.
Yeah.
It wasn't like crazy.
And he didn't even look like he was like trying to force the action when he was in the guard too. Like there was times I was like, whoa. Oh, in fact, like he wasn't really like posturing to punch. Like, yeah, he had some hammer strikes and he had some posture, but he really wasn't trying to knock him out. And then by the time you said like he cut him, it was almost too late, you know?
Yeah. Well, for the future of MMA, the right guy won.
Yeah.
So I'll take it. And Amin's a good dude. I'm happy for Amin and Faraz and George. I'm happy for those guys. So in the grand scheme of where MMA needs to go, the right guy won. But in terms of that specific fight, the judges might have got that one wrong, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah. We'll let him slide.
I'll let him slide on that one. Anything else of importance happened that night?
No, I think we hit the important stuff there overall. You know, the main event was the biggest part. And you want to get into what do you want to
you know what? I want to get into one other thing, man, and this is something that was kind of on my mind. That's the Bruno Silva fight. Because Bruno Silva is a guy who was very open and honest about his anxiety going into fights, how he was had to deal with that. And and the people don't understand how big of an impact and a factor that is on a fighter.
Yeah.
So we just think, okay, you train hard, you go out and fight, and then, if you're good, you win. If not, but that's not the way it works, man. Like if you have like this really bad anxiety and you don't address that properly, it's going to really damage you. So a guy like that, to me, it looked like when he started getting hit with elbows, all that anxiety came back out to the forefront, and he just collapsed, right? And he didn't move. He was face down for minutes. He didn't move.
Yeah.
I think that's the last we see of him. So it's very dangerous, man. When this is why I never talk fighters into a fight. When in fact, I'm more willing to pull a fighter out of a fight if I feel like their anxiety is going to be really bad. I'm like, hey man, maybe you need to just not do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so dangerous. And what we saw there was a very dangerous situation where a guy who's battling these demons found the courage to do it, right? Show up on fight night. Maybe because everybody else is like, man, you can do this. You're a tough guy. You can do this. But to me, that's just a prime example of when a dude doesn't want to fight, don't let him fight. And then pull him out, like say, listen, man, you need to retire until you get this thing figured out.
To you fighters out there who are doing this for everybody else, when that cage door locks, they ain't in there with you.
Ain't that in it? That's exactly what it is, man. You start doing this for everybody else because everybody else is like, oh, you're an MMA fighter. You're great. You got to do this. And then you start thinking, oh, God, I guess I have to live up to that, what everybody's putting on me. And then you go out there and fight. And then they're not in there with you, homie.
Mm-mm.
And you can get seriously hurt. And I think he got hurt, man. He got hurt.
Yeah. And people get hurt in this game. That's why it's important. Yeah, I'm with you with that. Like, I'm more quicker to pull a trigger on or pull a fighter from their fight as opposed to pushing them, because I'm not in there either. Even if I'm their coach, I'm on the outside and
I'm not in there. I can't do it for you.
If a fighter got hurt because of me, I would never forgive myself.
So if you're not 100% fully committed to your craft and your passion and your dedication is not there to beat a motherfucker senseless, and you're not willing to get beat senseless to do it, don't do it. Don't do it.
That self-doubt will carry with you to the next avenue in life if you do this too long. Like, I mean, I thank God I got out healthy. I got out with a winning record. I got out on a win, but people all the time. So it's like, so what happened? It was like, yeah, I just moved on to the next thing. Is it both? Like, could you imagine what happened? Well, I really shouldn't have taken a fight, and this happened. I got really hurt, and I thought that was it. It's like, like you don't want to go through that story over and over again.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Like, you can quit. It's fine.
Yeah.
Do something. Do something else. That God's plan for you is something different. It's fine.
People change careers all the time.
All the time. You don't have to be a fighter just because you once was a fighter.
Yeah.
Change your path. All right. So so now moving forward, we're gonna move forward from UFC.
Right. Yeah.
So
what do you want to get into? Let me take the reins on the. So there was a lot of announcements today, but we could talk about that after. So Vitor Belfort gets into the Hall of Fame. Fantastic. Loved it. Watching those highlights took me back. Vitor was the man. But now it truly seems like the UFC Hall of Fame is a thing. Now, I was thinking too, they could be putting a push on this. They're getting criticized for these lackluster events, the ESPN stream and blah blah. So they want to add to it a little. Maybe they're pushing the Hall of Fame a little bit more because they can add to the event. Whatever the case, everyone that's in is deserving anyway. So I don't want to make it something it's not. But there are fighters out there who can go in that haven't been put in. Some of them have some reasons, some don't. But I want you to name one, and then I'll name one. We'll name two total. You name one, I'll name one, and then you name one, I'll name one. Who should go in? Who do you think should go into the Hall of Fame? And let's stick to the criteria that they are officially retired.
If they're officially retired, or
you could think they're officially retired. We'll keep it like that.
Honestly, believe it or not, I don't know if this fits the criteria, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway.
That's
Jim
fine.
Miller. I'm going to say Jim Miller.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Forget that.
Can you live with that one?
Yep. Yeah. Why do I think I agree with you on that? We didn't talk about all the criteria. First, obviously, a winning record. So Tank Abbott fans, sorry, he's not going in. But the influence they've had on the sport, and Jim Miller's fought how many times in the UFC, and people love watching that dude fight
40-something times.
So I think that he should be in like the Iron Man wing or something, where Yeah, I'm all about Jim Miller being in the UFC Hall of Fame.
Okay.
So me, and I would like to see it, but it's just not going to happen, is Frank Shamrock. He's got some serious beef with the UFC, but he was I mean, granted, whenever someone thinks Shamrock, they think of his brother because his brother was in actually WWF while that run was going on. But Frank was the man when he was in the UFC, and he was middleweight, now light heavyweight champion. Beat Tito Ortiz, four title run until Chuck Liddell, 4-fight title run until Chuck Liddell broke his record. Then John Jones left on bad terms. But apparently, I found out today that he actually was asked if he wanted to be put in the UFC by the UFC, and he refused it. So I don't know.
Really?
I've never heard that. And I've followed Frank a lot and looked into this before I made this decision. Yeah, what do you think about that one?
No, I think it's warranted. Like he should be in the Hall of Fame. Like if he I guess not if he wanted to, but they should put him in the Hall of Fame. Like he had a Hall of Fame worthy career, and he's such a pioneer. And he was really one of the very first. Like we always talk about, like we throw this term of well-rounded around as if it didn't exist before. I hate when we go, oh, well, I'm well-rounded and I'm an MMA fighter. It's not like before. Dude, you know how long ago that was when fighters weren't like well-rounded? Like like there were so many guys before that did multiple disciplines.
Mm-hmm.
And Frank Shamrock was one of them.
Yeah.
Like Boss Root was one of them.
Yeah.
Speaking of Boss Root, is Boss Root in the Hall of Fame?
He is. He was.
Right.
Yeah.
Just I want to clarify that.
Yeah, I need to study up for sure because I had like 4 or 5 people, and then I went to look. I was like, oh shit, he's in.
Well, and that's why this is kind of difficult for me because I thought Vitor was already in. I had lunch with him on Thursday. Or was it Thursday or Friday? I had lunch with him. I saw him in the morning, and I was going to say something about being in the Hall of Fame. And then I said, shit, I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame. So how do I ask him without asking him? And I said, hey, Vitor, man, how many different times did they put you in the Hall of Fame for? And he said, I'm not in the Hall of Fame. I said, what? You're not in the Hall of Fame? And then it dawned on me. I said, oh, shit, maybe that's why he's here. I hope I didn't spoil the damn surprise. I think I might have spoiled the surprise for him because I really thought he was in the Hall of Fame already. You know, I had to try to ask him in a way that wasn't disrespectful. Like, yo, you in the Hall of Fame? So I just asked him, how many different times are you in the Hall of Fame? And he was like, I'm not in the Hall of Fame. But he should have been in the Hall of Fame.
Yep. I tell you, he lost it, but his fight with Randy Couture, the first one, was one of my favorite fights of all time. And if you haven't seen Vitor Belfort fight, he was the first ever truly exciting fighter to watch in mixed martial arts. Like, he was just so explosive. He was so much fun to watch. But back to what I was saying about Frank, like, and he could have a fight in the fighter wing as well with Tito Ortiz. That fight, the UFC 22, was fantastic. That was one of my favorite fights to watch. But yeah, all right. So I got Frank. Who else you got?
It's a toss up, actually. Who?
Say them both. You got to toss up. You got 2. Say them both.
Well, no. So I've always thought that Jessica Andrade should go into the Hall of Fame. She's not retired, but I wish she would just retire so that we can put her in the Hall of Fame. Because maybe that's the reason why she wants to continue to keep fighting, because she feels like she needs more to prove. But we're talking about a woman who has wins in 3 different weight classes. She's more wins than any other female in the UFC. Wins in 3 different weight classes, was a former title holder, and has always been in the top 5 in 2 different divisions simultaneously for the longest time.
That's crazy.
I feel as though if she were to retire now, she should have retired before, because I almost feel like she's kind of ruining her legacy. But I think she should go in the Hall of Fame.
I'm with that, especially because even in the fights that she lost, she stepped up to everybody. That woman fought every woman that the UFC had to offer and either projected her career or theirs. You know, everyone's stock rose when they fought her. So I'm totally with that. Influence on the sport is a big deal for me. not just championships, which she was a champion. So I'm with that.
I have another one too. Should I do my other one, or do you want to
go for it? Go for it.
How can I not say Tyron Woodley?
He was one of mine too.
Yeah, how can I not say Tyron Woodley? I mean, he was a champion and defended his belt 4 times.
Yep.
So
that's the most consecutive in the welterweight division, right? Oh, no, before Kamaru.
After GSP, probably.
Yeah, sorry. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
After GSP, probably. So how do you not go Tyron Woodley? I think maybe it was his relationship with the UFC that's going to keep him out of that. But in my book, yeah. But as I complained about before, I'm not going to go to bat and complain for Tyron. But how come this guy doesn't get in? If I want, I can put Tyron Woodley in my own personal Hall of Fame. And if I want to create something for him, I'll do that. But it's not up to me to tell the UFC how to spend their money and who to put in the Hall of Fame. So, but in terms of being deserving of going into the Hall of Fame, Tyron Woodley deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
I agree with you. I thought about that one yesterday. I was like, yeah, Tyron should be there. Usman, yeah, I'm still flipping the coin on that, but I just don't want to use him for this conversation. Mine is Josh Barnett. I think that he fought at an elite level for 2 decades, UFC champion. Then he fought at elite level at Pride, fought a who's who. Keeping him out, again, his relationship with the UFC, and he also had multiple failed drug tests. Now, I know, like, we can't really hold that to the fighters given the way things were, and but the fact that he got caught so many times, and it doesn't help him with his argument to get in.
No, you're right.
I think he might have even gotten stripped of his title because he tested positive.
It's weird because he was in a time where you would almost say it's like if there's an MMA Hall of Fame and then a UFC Hall of Fame, like he might not be in the UFC Hall of Fame, but he's definitely in the MMA Hall of Fame because he was in a time where there was so many different big things going on, like Pride and all these different organizations, but just in general, his influence on combat sports is Hall of Fame worthy. And it's almost a shame that the UFC doesn't. Well, like they did it with Sakuraba.
Yeah. That's who I'm thinking of. You're saying this.
You know what I'm saying? Like they bent over backwards for Sakuraba to put him in the Hall of Fame based on his MMA accomplishments. Josh Barnett deserves that too.
So, and I wonder if this influence is going to work because WWE is basically the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. It's not just the WWE. It's called the WWE Hall of Fame, but they put everybody in pro wrestling in it. Like that. Like if you wrestled the old NWA, WCW, if you did something that was worthy, you're in. They'll vote you in. You said they did it with Sakuraba. And I know we've been saying a lot about if the UFC, if they're not happy with you, you're not in. But they put Tito in. They put Don Fry in. I didn't know Don Fry was in until I looked it up. I thought Don Fry was still out. But so there is some cordiality, I guess is the word. If they're going to put you in, hopefully that they'll get that influence from WWE and start letting other people in who made an influence, like Fedor. How is Fedor not in any type of mixed martial arts Hall of Fame?
Yeah. He's going to be a hard sell for the UFC, though.
Yeah, he really fucked them.
Well, just because he never fought in the UFC. Like, at least Sakuraba fought in the UFC.
Yeah.
At least he fought in the UFC. But if you haven't fought in the UFC, that's going to be hard to sell.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
So you wanted to do fight wings too, right?
Yeah, we'll do one. So, I mean, I kind of already mentioned it. The Frank Shamrock and Tito fight, I'm putting in there. That was such a good fight. And just what that middleweight, now light heavyweight division is meant to the UFC and the sport. Just Tito, Chuck Liddell, John Jones, I think that's a really, really big fight. And that should be in there.
This one is obscure, but it's always been one of my favorite fights, and that was Diego Sanchez and Nick Diaz. Like just the way they were scrapped. I don't know. Maybe that doesn't deserve to be in, but I'm putting it in.
It's 2 extremely influential people on the sport. You know what? I don't know if I would put them in by themselves, but I would put this fight in. Nick, maybe, but Nick's had such a funny career, man.
I don't think you could put Nick in the Hall of Fame in terms of like his career accomplishment, but his fights can go in the Hall of Fame. Some of his fights can go in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm. That's one of them. Diego, first Ultimate Fighter winner, but he never won a belt, and he kind of really fell off. So yeah, I would put that fight in. I wouldn't put them in by themselves though.
Yeah, I'm totally for that. And I love the fact that they do have a fight wing.
Absolutely.
Because it allows certain fighters like Cub Swanson and Clay Guida to get in at some level because they've been so influential in the sport, but they didn't have the career to really justify putting them in. But their influence on the sport has been a lot. And I'm glad that at some level they can get some recognition for something. So good for the fight wings.
Yeah. Good call. And actually, I like how they divvied it up too. Like I like seeing that Vitor one in the Pioneer wing. You know, like I plus the modern wing's gonna end up outweighing that shit by a lot. So they probably needed to put him in there to balance it out. But yeah. So anyway, ton of announcements. I mean, have you heard in the last hour? There's a lot to discuss.
Yeah. What do we got?
We could breeze through it. Let's start with the first one that I saw. Actually, I think I made a joke. I think Dana laughed at it I was on his Instagram, and because that's where he announced it. And he goes, "All right, we all ready?" And I commented, "Power slap taking the place of main event at UFC 317. Love it." And I saw him look down and go, so yeah, he was looking at me. But anyway, Ilia Topuria is fighting Charles Oliveira for the vacant lightweight belt, and it's vacant because Islam Makhachev's going up. I like Ilia in that fight a lot. I think that he wins that fight. I don't think he finishes Charles though. I think Charles is tough. He can keep himself safe, but I do think he takes a lot of damage. And I think that Ilia pitches a shutout in that fight. What do you think?
I think Ilia wins that too. I was just talking to John Rollo about this. You know, John Rollo from Baltimore. Just talking to him about this. I said, man, when you get these guys that when their hunger and their passion meet their skill set, and their skill set is that of having heat-seeking Scud missiles for fists, those guys are unbeatable until something wavers. Like maybe something in his training is wavered. Like because you're champ, now you don't train as much, so now there's a chink in the armor, or you're injured and you can't punch effectively. So until something wavers with Ilia, there's no reason for me to believe that he's going to lose that fight. I just think that right now, unless something is a disturbance in his camp or something, I just feel like everything is going in the right direction for this young man. And I'm not sure Charles can beat him. And I might even put my money on him versus Islam, to be honest with you, at this point.
I haven't even thought of that one, and I don't know why. But I mean, things are definitely going the right direction for him. I think that he shuts out Charles, and it's going to be very hard to convince me otherwise between now and then. Only 6 weeks away, right? Which is cool.
Yeah. I think he stops Charles.
Yeah.
I think he stopped him, man. I think he hits Charles with something, and Charles is like, "Ooh." Yeah, I think he gets a stoppage.
Okay. What else is there? Oh, well, they did announce Islam is moving up. We kind of just talked about that, but you know, I gave a pretty in-depth. What do you think? How do you think that fight plays out? I mean,
I think Jack beats him too. I think Jack beats him. So I did a study on Islam a little while ago, and a couple things stand out to me with Islam, and that is he has a problem with punches being thrown at him from a southpaw stance. Now, I'm not saying that he has problems with southpaws, but he has problems with seeing punches coming from that stance at times, especially when you switch it up well. So when you think about the times he's been hurt in fights, one, Adriano Martins is a southpaw. That was a long time ago. That might have been the first indication that he has problems with that stance. Adriano hit him with that right hook, boom, dropped him. They stopped the fight. Yep. Then when he fought times when Volk switch stances and throw punches are the times it hit him.
Mm-hmm.
Even Dustin, when Dustin had his moments against him, Dustin's a southpaw. So I think he does have some issues with the southpaw stance. And the more you can switch stances and hide that southpaw stance and throw punches from that, the more success you can have with him. And right now, there's no one in the game who switches stances and throws more effective punches than Jack.
Yep.
And I think if Jack is switching stances and getting them hands going, he might light Islam up.
So, did you have any involvement? Were you involved at all in the Adriano Martinez fight? Were you? I know Mikey Rod ran that a lot, but
yeah, I don't even know, man. It was so long ago. Oh, yeah.
So now, okay, it is long ago, so let's not pretend it was yesterday, like you said. But there's certain things to Islam's style that hasn't really changed there, and that has been portrayed in what you just said against Volk. Just the southpaw stance. Maybe because he's such a north-south fighter, he's coming forward so hard. It's just easier for a southpaw to cut that corner, cut that angle on him, and land some counter strikes. And like we said, you're going against somebody who really knows how to counter strike, especially when you're changing your level for a takedown. So I'm on team JDM right now. I think that this is for him. He could defend takedowns too, as we've seen, against strong individuals. So yeah, I'm going with Jack Della Maddalena now for this fight.
Also, too, we can't ignore the fact that I think Craig Jones has been so instrumental in these guys.
Right.
With these guys' ability to learn grappling in a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Craig has given these guys so many cheat codes to avoiding submissions, saying, hey, listen, in order for submissions to work, these things have to happen. So these are the things that you need to prioritize in blocking so they don't happen. And I think that what he did with Volk in that situation to deal with Islam was so instrumental. And then I'm sure what he did with Jack against Belal was so instrumental. And I'm sure that what he's going to do with Jack against Islam is going to be really helpful. So I want to make sure that Craig Jones gets some acknowledgement in this because I think he's been real instrumental in that success.
I tell you, man, Craig Jones is the only combat sports athlete that I felt like this. The only other combat sports athlete that I put in this category, there's no word for it, was Mike Tyson. What do I mean by that? Like, nobody was ordered the Mike Tyson pay-per-views anymore because he was knocking people out in 30 seconds. Like, oh, whenever Craig Jones is going in a grappling bout, he's going to submit you in 30 seconds. I'm like, why do I'll just catch the highlight reel, which is the whole fight the next morning. He's so smart.
He's so smart, man. He understands the game so much that he knows what to prioritize. He knows what to prioritize, and he knows how to find the little things to make a move work or not work. And if he can disrupt something from working by grabbing a wrist somewhere, he's going to drill that in these guys' heads, and now they're going to go into the fight with a better understanding. Jack won't be a better grappler than Islam, but he'll know how to neutralize him. And that's all he needs to do, neutralize him enough to go, bink, bink.
I tell you what, man, if Islam is holding Jack against the fence for the whole first round, Jack's going to finish him in the third or fourth. Those arms are going to be so tired. Mm-hmm. I think this favors Jack a lot. The other fight that was announced that was pretty big, there was a couple, but the other one that was announced was Pantoja versus Kai Kara-France. I think it's a fight that they needed to make. I think that division is a little, they're trying to figure it out right now. Kai is 1-2 in his last 3 fights. And I mean, like I said, they got stuff to figure out. He's pretty solid. Why? What are you thinking? I just saw you give a look.
No, I didn't know he was 1-2 in his last 3 fights.
I just looked it up because I was like, he's got a big right hand. He really launches that bad boy, but I think Pantoja just does his thing on him.
Yeah, I don't think that's the most difficult fight for Pantoja. Dangerous because of Kai's ability to touch you and sleep you, but
yeah,
Pantoja's got such a good chin.
Mm-hmm.
Like he really hits a punch well, and he'll march. I think he's just gonna march forward on Kai and take him down and probably dominate him.
If I'm like, I was watching a lot of Kai but not a lot of guys. Like the last hour, I tried watching a little bit more of him. And he has a hard reset. Like he resets and he takes 2-3 steps back. You know, Puma's a smart coach. So and Pantoja's a great fighter. They're going to notice that and they're going to say, gain that ground. Just walk with him. Just stalk him down. Get him against the fence, and we do our thing. You know, he almost like winds up like to throw that right hand sometimes. You can't do that against the fence. So he'll bring the offense for you.
Yeah, I don't think that's the most dangerous. It's still a dangerous fight, but I don't think it's the most difficult fight for Pantoja.
Yep.
I think Manel Kape would have been a more difficult fight for Pantoja. Mm-hmm. But Kai France, I'm happy to see him get another opportunity, but I don't think it's going to work out in his favor. But he has an opportunity to prove me wrong, so go for it, Kai. I love when you guys prove me wrong.
And we'll do the one more. We'll do quick just because we talked about it last week. But no, Dariush is fighting Moicano, so that's really cool.
Is he really?
Yeah. I think that's a good fight. I think that's cool. Oh, well, that was supposed to happen too. Duh. And then the main event fell through. But but yeah, that's cool. I don't think that's still like August or July or August though.
Yeah, man. It's the UFC is rocking and rolling, man. When I think about it, I'm like, yo, they got so much stuff going on. It's crazy how many. And I'm glad they started announcing these big fights because it seemed like no fights were getting announced. Just cards were getting announced, and you're like, well, who's fighting on these cards? So, so thank God these official fights are being announced that we can now get excited for them and not just the card in itself. Because when I'm looking at the cards, because I'm working half these cards, and I get my work, I'm like, yo, there's a pay-per-view. In Guadalajara, I know they want to go to Chicago. I know they want to. I'm like, yo, it's so many cards, but no fights are being announced. So thank God they started announcing these fights. They're making things happen.
So, but PFL is slick, man. They stole the show of the MMA news during this evening. They're not renewing Patchy Nix's contract. That was their big breaking announcement that they put on Twitter today. Half hour after Dana White's announcements.
So that was their announcement? They're not renewing their best fighter?
Just like the elbows in the tournament. Johnny Eblin's sitting there now like that. You know that meme of what's his name? Pablo Escobar by himself. He's sitting in PFL like.
Nah, I want to say this though. When I spoke about Ilia Topuria in terms of his skill set, meeting his hunger and his passion. You know who else is like that?
Who?
Paul Hughes in the PFL.
Yeah, Paul's good.
Mm-hmm. I spoke to him on Sirius, and that guy, it was like he'd crack a smile, and then realize he was smiling and go, "How dare you make me smile?" But he was, and he wasn't like malicious or mean. He just seemed so focused on proving that he's the best fighter in the world. And we asked him about Conor McGregor, and I was like, "Hey, did you ever settle that beef with Conor?" No. I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I asked." But no, I wish Paul Hughes in the UFC, man. That guy can fight.
Give it a year. We'll see.
Yeah, so PFL. I love what you guys are doing with if you're going to Africa and all these different countries. Do that, man. Do that. Go over there, build those guys up. But if you want to be real helpful to the MMA community, release Johnny Evans. Release Paul Hughes and release Dakota Della. All right, you can keep Usman Nurmagomedov. Y'all can keep that. But release
Dakota's nasty. I love watching her fight.
But release Dakota, release Eblen, and release Paul Hughes. The UFC could use them. So release them. If you want to be helpful to the MMA world, release those three fighters. And you can do whatever you want in Africa, and you can do whatever you want in the tournaments in Europe. You can have all that. Just release those three fighters.
Yeah. I think that's the way to rock.
All right, my man.
All right. Well, hey, it's late / early over there. You got some rest.
I'm not tripping, man. I always try to stay kind of on East Coast time. I just don't have my setup. So I don't know how this is going to sound. I'll see if I can't finesse it.
You're right. You didn't skip it all either. So.
Okay, yeah. At least I got that going for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna do it again next week, homie. Me and you. Dean Thomas's FightCourt. I listen, it's FightCourt to me, man. You know what I'm saying? So if you
I'm not buying I'm gonna
don't
but Dean Thomas FightCourt works. I'm cool with it. I like it.
But if you enjoyed the show, make sure you hit like, share, subscribe, holla at us. We gonna be around a while, y'all. So on that note, this court is adjourned. Peace.